Delia, when you hear loving me for real, what comes to mind?
Well, I'm thinking not just saying that I love me, but actually doing it, actually believing it, actually walking in that love. It means that I won't put myself in certain positions because I love me. I love my body.
Yeah.
I love who I am. I love who God
Yeah.
created me to be. I love who I am now, not just the person who I will be in the future, but myself now, flaws and all, weaknesses and all. Just taking it as it is and just saying, yeah, I'm good, because God looked on me and said, I'm good.
Yo, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Nice. Nice.
Adelia.
It comes back to what we had mentioned last week and what I said in terms of you can't be healed from what you don't confront. And the thing
Yes.
is that
Yes.
many persons don't want to confront the issue because it brings up too much hurt and too much pain. But at the end of the day, you can't move forward and you cannot walk in the authenticity of who you are if you don't confront it. And
Yeah.
nobody says that demasking is easy. It's not.
Yeah.
And I think
And it's a
people-
process.
That's right. And many
It's
of
a
us are
process,
not,
yes.
many of us are not patient with ourselves to go through that process.
And stuff. Here's the question that's coming up on screen now. How do you be the real you and who God created you to be when you're being given a hard time with and an expectancy from others as to how you should be? In other words, let me paraphrase, you can't be you because somebody else will tell you who you are to be. They might make
So
it
how
hard
you
for
do this?
How you manage? Good question, Unique Hyatt. Unique
Who
Hyatt.
want answer? Who want answer that?
Social guest one.
Come on, yeah. Try.
Yes,
Wait,
Me?
We think we talk too much. Somebody else
All
talk.
right, Delia. Delia, go ahead, Delia. Go
Come
ahead.
on, social worker.
Oh God. It's gonna be difficult, especially when you are younger, and I'm not gonna say it's easy. Especially when you're not living a life where you can be fully independent, based on the fact that hey, probably you're still living in your parents' house, you're still managed by them, that kind of thing. If you're coming from the parents' route, but I think it has to start with a conversation with the person. It starts with a conversation saying, hey, look, I know this is what you're expecting of me, but this is what I believe God has called me to be, who God has called me to be. And to have a mature conversation and say, okay, how do we move forward? Because the truth is, at the end of the day, you can't tiptoe around it, and it doesn't make sense to frustrate yourself for the rest of your life trying to be somebody that you're not. Because you will never be effective walking in somebody else's shoes.
Oh.
You can't. It's very weighted trying to be something that you're not.
Yeah.
You don't realize it until you really rid yourself of the weight and realize that's so much, but did I carry?
Yes.
It really is and I said it before, it's a freeing thing just to walk in who you are called to be. When
Yeah.
you don't care about how people see you, all that is important to you is that you're pleasing God and that you're doing what God has called you to do. Because at the end of the day, that is all that matters. We are only responsible to God for the calling He has placed on our lives, not the calling we believe we should have or somebody else's calling that we are trying to attach to, but the one God predestined for us before we were formed in our mother's womb. So we have to ensure that we rid ourselves of that pressure, of that stress, of all of that, and just really walk in the true freedom of who God has called us to be. Loving yourself doesn't mean that you are perfect. It doesn't mean that you don't have flaws. It don't mean that you won't make mistakes and that you won't fall. But loving yourself means that you can still walk in the fullness of who God has called you to be, and His creation is good. So, messed up or not, flawed or not, you are still a lovely, beautiful, wonderful creation.
Yes.
And no matter what anybody else will say about you, you are still good, and the plans that God has for you is still good,
in effect.
no matter what happens.
Yes.
So when you learn to accept yourself for what we call less than perfection, then we will truly come into the fullness of who God has called us to be.